Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So we're going to go through a number of 2020 Republican primaries throughout this week. So I wanted to do one without Donald Trump. So I know this is probably actually very unlikely that the incumbent president, of course, wouldn't run for re-election. But let's say, for instance, Pence takes over or Pence just runs and Trump chooses not to run in 2020. And he receives a Republican opponent, Ted Cruz. Sooner or later, I'm going to start branching off into maybe 5, 6 candidates instead of just 2. But for right now, we have Cruz and Pence. So, first of all, with their respective home states, I mean, there's no shot. I mean, Cruz had a chance at winning in Indiana. Pence barely endorsed him. You could tell it was just a grudged type of forcing to endorse Ted Cruz. But Ted Cruz lost the Indiana primary, and the Donald Trump campaign didn't even expect originally to get a single vote from Indiana. Well, not a single vote, a single delegate from Indiana. They originally thought they were going to lose it, but they didn't. So, actually, I'm going to give Indiana to Mike Pence, and of course, Texas, I believe, would go to Ted Cruz. Now, Vice President Mike Pence being a little bit more popular than the president, I wouldn't necessarily see it as an easy way for Cruz to win, but I think it is possible. Going off to a lot of the Midwest, I mean, this is Cruz territory. He won it against the president. It's not likely that a candidate like Pence will be able to pick up those voters. Going over to Nebraska, a state that Donald Trump carried, I think that Ted Cruz would be able to carry in the Republican primary. Alaska, I believe that, Alaska did go to Cruz back in 2016, I believe, by first instance vote, if I'm not mistaken, and then it soon went to the delegate count where I believe it overturned. Oklahoma, Cruz area, up in Maine, another state that Cruz won. Actually, I think that Cruz would carry Iowa. I mean, he did it back in 2016. They rarely ever choose the right GOP nominee, so I believe that Cruz would carry Iowa. But across the West Coast, I believe that this would still be solid Pence territory. Completely disregard the electoral votes. We're just doing it by state count, but still, they're just up there. But going down to the South, Alabama, I think that could go to Cruz. Mississippi, Cruz. I believe that he would be able to capture a number of these voters. Arkansas, Louisiana. The reason why Donald Trump carried a number of these states was because of the vote splitting. If you look down in Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi, if you count up all the voters against Donald Trump didn't win a majority in a number of these states, which is why I believe that Cruz would have a great shot at winning it in a one-on-one race against Mike Pence. Going down to South Carolina, Georgia, I think that Cruz would be able to gather a number of these voters, but I think that Pence would narrowly edge out Florida. Going over to North Carolina, another state I think Pence could narrowly edge out. Tennessee as well. Kentucky, that one's a little bit more debatable. I think that Cruz would narrowly carry Kentucky. Going over to Missouri, I think that Cruz would narrowly carry Missouri. But going over to Illinois, I think that would be Pence territory, essentially Trump territory. South Dakota, Pence territory. Montana, definitely. North Dakota is a little bit of a special situation, but I'd give that one to Mike Pence. But I think Cruz could carry Utah. Going down to Arizona, though, Nevada, and New Mexico, I think this would be pretty much Pence territory. Hawaii, I think, would go to Mike Pence. Going over to Ohio, though, I think that Cruz could carry Ohio. Going up to the Rust Belt, I think it's possible for a Cruz victory in Michigan, but I think that Cruz would also carry Wisconsin. But in the state of Minnesota, although they did not vote for Donald Trump, I think Pence could be a more moderate type of Rubio candidate to win those states. West Virginia would go to Pence. Virginia, I also believe, would go to Pence. I mean, pretty much across the Northeast, I think that this is pretty much Pence territory. Massachusetts we'll come back to, but I'm still ultimately think that Pence would carry Massachusetts. Going up to New York, I believe that he would carry the state of New York. Going down to D.C., I think that one would go to Ted Cruz. Pennsylvania, that's not really a question. New Hampshire and Vermont, I think, would go to Mike Pence. So final delegate map. If you're just counting electoral votes, 328 for Mike Pence to 210 for Ted Cruz, ultimately making Pence the 2020 Republican nominee. But I think that it would come down to actually a contested convention based on this map. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all later today.